Right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Macha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Yeah, pretty much just wanted to go into this. All right, I have an article here, all right, dealing with this election situation. And, it brought a little bit more clarity to it because, prior to reading it, all right, we figured there was going to be turmoil, all right, and, a chaotic situation with this election, but, not necessarily, why exactly. But, all right, I'm going to read the article, okay, so that you can, see, all right, why this election, regardless of who wins, all right, or who it looks like wins, is going to bring about some form of chaos. All right. So I have two articles here. One is from Zero Hedge. All right. It says why we're facing the biggest election nightmare in modern American history, no matter who ends up winning. All right. And it actually goes into some very good points. And then another one here is from New York Post. All right. Mark Zuckerberg fears civil unrest after 2020 presidential election. All right, this guy looks like an alien, man. All right, that's just my opinion, but I think he looks like an alien. Okay, so let me share my screen. I just realized you guys couldn't see that. Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, this is the first article from Zero Hedge. All right, and then the second one here is from the New York Post. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into this one first. Now the computer's moving a little slow, which is all just saying anyway. All right, now this is from zerohedge.com. It says why we're facing the biggest election nightmare in modern American history, no matter who ends up winning. It says it looks like we're headed for the most chaotic presidential election in modern U.S. history. According to some estimates, somewhere around 40% of all U.S. voters will vote by mail this year. Okay, notice it said 40%, not 100%. So that means some are going to vote in person and some are going to vote by mail. That means that tens of millions of voters will be going through the postal system, and that has the potential to create all sorts of problems. For one thing, it is going to take a lot of extra time to open those ballots and count them. Okay, that's a given. All right, number one. That's a given right there. Slack. So it says, for the states that allow mail-in votes to be counted in advance, that shouldn't delay the final results by too much. But in other states, we are facing the possibility of a nightmare scenario. There are certain states that are not allowed to start counting any ballots until the polls close on election day, and that includes key swing states such as Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, what's that going to bring? What's the problem with that? The problem with that is if you can't start counting, all right, the ballots until the polls are closed on election day, then you start counting with all the different ballots that are coming in. It's going to take some time before you get the total results of the ballots that came in by mail. But mind you, there's going to be people who have already voted in person. So the results from that vote or from those votes are going to show either Trump is winning, Biden is winning, they're tied, but you still have to wait for the rest of the votes that came in by mail. Okay. And that's where the problem lies. Okay. Now we're going to read it. It says in several states not accustomed to high volumes of mail-in voting, including Rust Belt, swing states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, election officials cannot start counting ballots until voting ends on election night. If they can't do that, that means that you're going to have a result from those who voted in person, but then you have to wait for the results after the counting, all right, of the ballots. It says other swing states such as Minnesota allow absentee ballots to be postmarked up to election day. So as we all watch the election results come in on the night of November 3rd, what we will be getting will only be partial results. Okay, so the results you're going to see on election night are only going to be partial results. It says, and at this point, the mainstream media is assuming that the votes that are cast in person will heavily favor President Trump. And so they are warning us that there could be a red mirage scenario in which it appears that Trump is easily winning an election that he has actually lost. Why? Because you don't have the full number of votes yet. Of course, if Trump builds a huge lead on election night, he is likely to declare victory, and Facebook has already stated that they intend to flag any such attempt. Facebook plans to flag any attempt by the by the Trump campaign to declare a premature victory in the presidential race on the platform, the company announced on Thursday. The social media giant, which has come in for heavy criticism for failing to police foreign and domestic elections propaganda on its network, also said it will not accept any new political ads in the final week of the 2020 presidential race. So now you're seeing that Facebook is saying that's why they're saying they're going to block any if tweets, whatever, by posts by the Trump campaign, because if those people who vote in person, let's say 40% of the population are going to vote by mail, and the 60% that are going to vote in person, the results from those 60% is going to show up at the end of November 3rd, all right, at the end of election night. Now, based on whoever is winning from that 60%, they might not want to wait or legitimize the 40% that haven't been counted yet. So that's what they're saying, that Trump might say, well, I won, that's it. The rest of the votes that come in by mail could be tainted. So if we were to take that into consideration and then I lost, I wouldn't accept that because I don't know if they've been altered or not. You know, something along those lines. So either way, one party or one side is not going to be happy. All right. And vice versa. So it says, this is one of the reasons why I have always been strongly against mail-in voting. Our nation is likely to be thrown into a state of chaos in November because it is going to take so long to count all the votes. President Trump and his supporters will be absolutely convinced that they have won the election if they have a big lead on election night. And Joe Biden and his supporters will be absolutely convinced that they will be victorious once all of the mail-in votes are finally counted. And then no matter what the final result is, about half the country will be or will not be willing to accept it as legitimate. All right, because of all this in-betweens and this, that, and the third, people are going to be like, nah, I don't accept that as a legitimate. I don't, they're going to come up with so many different things because not all the votes were counted on election night. All right. Or looked at to say, okay, who's voting for who's voting for who. All right. It says, this is going to be such a disaster, but nobody can do anything about it now. All we can do is watch this slow motion train wreck play out. All right. And Lord willing, this is a straight train that leads into Jacob's Trouble, man. Next stop, Jacob's Trouble. All right. It says Biden supporters are already pointing to a recent poll, which shows that Biden voters are far more likely to vote by mail than Trump supporters are. You see that? So what does that mean? If those who are voting for Joe Biden are more likely going to vote by mail, then that means that those who are voting in person, most of them are going to be Trump supporters. So the results you'll see, all right, on TV on November 3rd, all right, if things are going according to as the article is saying, are going to be in favor of Trump, because the rest of the votes who are in favor of Biden are now being counted. Okay. Now at that point, Trump can say, nope, I won. We're not waiting for the rest of the ones to be counted because people might try to, that kind of propaganda. And either or, because those who are voting in person, if it looks like Biden is winning, Trump could, so people are anticipating chaos, civil unrest, really a civil war, all right, because of this election. But we will see what happens. It says 47% of voters who plan to vote for Biden say they are likely to vote by mail, according to a USA Today Suffolk University poll released on Wednesday. That's more than double the 21% of voters backing Trump who say they are likely to vote by mail. The poll found 56% of Republicans say they intend to vote on election day, compared with 26% of Democrats. So the statistics are showing you that majority of Trump supporters are actually going to vote in person, all right, while majority of Joe Biden supporters are going to vote by mail. It says if all of the votes were counted and released at one time, this wouldn't be so much of a problem. But instead, most of the results that we will get on election night will be from in-person voting, and most of the mail-in votes will be counted sometime later. So it's going to be unsure. Did Trump win, or is that going to change when they count the mail-in votes? All right. So it's almost like you can't, based on who's in the lead, you can't assume that they've won because the other votes could change something. All right. And that's definitely going to be interesting, man, to see the two sides. It says at this point, everyone should be able to see that this is almost certainly not going to end well. All right. So many Trump voters prefer to vote the old-fashioned way, while many Democrats are very eager to vote by mail, and this has created a huge disparity in ballot requests in some of the most critical swing states. Just check out these numbers. In Pennsylvania, all right, a state Trump won in 2016, but where polling shows him behind. Nearly 900,000 Democrats have requested a mail ballot for the election, more than twice the 347,000 Republicans who have done so. That means in Pennsylvania, you have more people that are more Democratic voters, okay, that are going to vote by mail than Republicans. It says in North Carolina, another state Trump won in 2016, but where he and Biden are in close race, nearly 313,000 Democrats requested mail-in ballots compared with nearly 93,000 Republicans. So what you see going on is that when let's say you look on the TV for the results from North Carolina or the results from Pennsylvania, more than likely you'll see that majority of them are for Trump. All right. Why? Because the rest of them, even though you can have more Democratic voters in North Carolina than Republican voters, on election night, it's going to show that North Carolina majority are voting for Trump. Why? Because the rest of the votes haven't been counted yet. We are seeing similar numbers in other states, and this is one of the reasons why Joe Biden will not concede no matter how large Trump's lead on election night is. This thing could end up dragging out for an extended period of time, and that is extremely unfortunate. And the truth is that we may never even know the true winner of the 2020 election. Voting by mail opens up so many opportunities for fraud, and large numbers of ballots never even get delivered to the intended voters in the first place. All right. It says, as Breitbart has reported, 17% of the ballots that were sent out to registered voters in Nevada for their primary in June came back as undeliverable. So if majority of the voters are Trump supporters, the majority of in-person voters are Trump supporters, and majority of Biden voters are voting by mail, all right, which is uncertain, is chances are it's going to look like Trump is winning based on the outcome that you're going to see on TV. Okay. And then there was an article that said that Trump might just say, you know what, I won based on what you see. So now go and he's going to send people to go and destroy the that's what people were propagating, that he'll send the military, so on and so forth, to go destroy the mailed votes, all right, or the mailed ballots. It says last month the Trump campaign filed suit against Nevada for their universal mail-in voting plans that would allow votes submitted after election day to count for the election. More than 223,000 mail-in ballots sent to registered voters in Las Vegas, Nevada, for their June primary bounced as undeliverable. See, so now that's causing an issue, because if majority, let's say, okay, let me just close that out. Let's say 60% of the country is voting for Biden and 40% is voting for Trump. But these 60% are voting by mail. This is just an example, right? If let's say 30 out of that 60, all right, since they're voting by mail, something messes up with the mails that'll come in will only be 30. And if you do the math, 30 compared to 40, the 40 will still hold. All right. So it says, okay, I read that. 17% of the total 1,325,934 mail-in ballots that were sent out in the country or in the county. Over the next couple of months, tens of millions of ballots are going to be floating around out there, and many will end up in the hands of people that should not have them. For example, Hulk Hogan says that one of his friends just received a ballot that was addressed to his dog. Crazy stuff. A friend of mine just got a mail-in ballot for his dog Nugget. Now even dogs can vote. So it's showing you that it's not a stable thing. All right. It says, how does something like this happen? Another thing to watch out for is ballot harvesting. Democrats have been masters of this practice, and they used it with devastating effectiveness in California in 2018. Now they are deploying this tactic all over the nation, and very alarming incidents of abuse are already being reported. Furthermore, a citizen journalist reported that Democrats were harvesting mail-in ballots from nursing homes in Texas by fraudulently submitting ballot applications in bulk. All right. This is going to be a very interesting election, man. I keep thinking about that movie Purge election year. All right. It says the journalist said that at least 32 applications supposedly from elderly voters were all submitted with the exact same handwriting and were all submitted using the same pre-printed envelope with the same style stamp. So now this is given credence, all right, or validation to what Trump is saying about some of these mails being inaccurate. You know, it's not 100%, safe, okay, or valid. So that's going to bring so much confusion because it's like, okay, or do we wait, or do we count the mailed votes or the mailed ballots as part of it? All right, even though the results are going to come out after the elections, it's going to be very chaotic because, okay, if you counted 60% of the votes and it said Trump won, and you still haven't counted the 40%, okay, but now we're on November 4th, okay, and November 5th and November 6th, who's going to be in power? You know, does Trump stay in power until you get the results? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? It's going to cause chaos. All right, but like I said, we're going to wait, watch, and see. In the end, we should all want a legitimate outcome. The integrity of our elections is of paramount importance, and the will of the American people should be respected. But I don't think that any of us will ever be able to feel good about the outcomes of this election, no matter who ends up winning. Needless to say, the losing side is likely to be absolutely enraged over an election that they feel has been stolen from them, and that is likely to make a current chaos in our streets even worse. All right. So one way or the other, regardless of who wins, there's going to be one side that's unhappy and are willing to do something about it. It says at this point, even the Washington Post is warning that this election is likely to end catastrophically, man. 2020. Boy, and I hope and pray it does, man. Okay. Perspective, it says the election will likely spark violence and a constitutional crisis. In every scenario except a Biden landslide, our simulation ended catastrophically. Why? Because according to prophecy, this place has to go down catastrophically. All right. And Lord willing, all hell breaks loose, man. For once, I actually agree with the Washington Post. I have a hard time trying to imagine how this election would possibly end well. And it makes sense why they were pushing so hard for the vaccine before November 1st. Okay, because they probably know that after November 3rd, people going to be worrying about so many other things. All right, Shalom. It says, for once, I actually agree with the Washington Post. I have a hard time trying to imagine how this election could possibly end well. Right now, Trump and his supporters are convinced that Trump will win, and Biden and his supporters are convinced that Biden will win. One side is going to be bitterly disappointed, and they will almost certainly feel like the election was not won legitimately. There's going to be so much anger, and when it explodes, it's going to be very frightening to watch. This is already such a dark chapter in American history, and this election is going to take things to an entirely new level. Sadly, I believe that after November 2020, nothing in this country will ever be the same again. You hear that? Okay. So chaos on election night. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Now let me put this article, the link to this article in the chat, and then let's see. Hold on a second. Okay. And let's go to the next article. All right. This is from New York Post. Okay. All right. Where's this sound coming from? But oh, this ad right here. How do I get rid of this? All right. I don't want you yet. All right, whatever. Looks like we're gonna have to deal with it. Just let me know if you brothers can hear me. Or matter of fact, hold up. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna read it. I'll read the article from my phone. All right, because I don't want that advertisement noise. Okay, constantly just being in the background like that. All right, so this is from the New York Post. All right, I got it on my phone, so I'll just read it from here. All right, it says Mark Zuckerberg fears civil unrest after 2020 presidential election, and now that's the vibe. That's the vibration that's out right now, man. So it says Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg rang election alarm bells on Friday by saying the social media platform is bracing for civil unrest following the 2020 presidential election, and that's only what are we at? September. All right, so about a month and some change away. Okay. The tech titan said Facebook is trying to clamp down on misinformation ahead of the November vote because of the risk of an uproar in the days or weeks it will take to count all the ballots. Days or weeks. So you got ballots that are going to be voted in, and for days and weeks, you're not going to be sure if Trump won or if Biden won because not all the votes have been counted. And each of them is going to be, I should be in power because I won, or I should be in power because I won. And their supporters are going to be going back and forth. Okay. It says, there is unfortunately, I think, a heightened risk of civil unrest in the period between voting and a result being called or after that. And I just think that we need to be doing everything that we can to reduce the chances of violence or civil unrest in the wake of this election, Zuckerberg told Axios in an interview released Thursday. But according to prophecy, violence and civil unrest has to happen. One people shall stand up to fight against another. Okay, that's going to happen, man. Nothing you can do is going to change that. Okay. It says Zuckerberg suggested that there is a risk of violence breaking out after election day, and that Facebook will try to stop violent events from being organized on its platform. But what about Instagram? What about Twitter? What about YouTube? Okay. What about Daily Motion? What about all these different sites, man? Facebook, if people want to uproar and be violent because of an election, a social media platform is not going to be able to stop that. Okay. Zuckerberg suggested that there is a risk of violence breaking out after election day, and that Facebook will try to stop violent events from being organized on platforms which include the eponymous social network, as well as Instagram and WhatsApp. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, I think I forgot Facebook either bought Instagram or something along those lines. Okay, so Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. You still got Twitter. You still got YouTube. You still got these other social media sites. Now, could this somehow tie into these social media sites being shut down? Who knows? Okay, we'll have to watch and see at the end of the day. It says the country is very charged right now. So I think regardless of what we do, there's some chance that this happens across the country, he said. I just want to make sure that we do our part to not contribute to it. So everybody's saying, look, man, the way it's looking, something is going to go down. Facebook announced several policies Thursday aimed at protecting the integrity of the race between President Trump and the Democratic nominee Joe Biden, in light of the fact that many people will vote by mail because of the coronavirus pandemic. They include efforts to label posts from candidates claiming victory before all the votes are counted, and a ban on new political advertisement in the week before the election. So they're basically going to put a ban on People who are going to come out and say, oh, Trump won. They're banning that because they're saying, well, we don't know because we haven't counted all the votes. It says the billionaire tycoon also said Facebook and other media outlets should inform voters that there's nothing illegitimate about this election, taking additional days or even weeks to make sure that all the votes are counted. People don't want to hear that though. All right. Facebook shares fell 1.6% to $286.39 in early trading Friday after dropping 3.7% Thursday. So the stock market is doing bad. You got famines on the way, pestilence is happening, and more to come. All right. People are about to be evicted. Winter is coming. They're about to force vaccines down your throat. They're bringing the microchip. All right. They already got the troops ready. Okay. And now you got chaos about to break loose on election night, according to these articles. Okay. So it's going to be, matter of fact, let's get a precept. All right. What's this? Amos. All right, chapter 5. Verse 18. It says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. So a lion, a bear, and a serpent, they can all kill you. These are all life-threatening animals. So this is describing how chaotic it's going to be out here, that you're going to run from one life-threatening situation right into another. And you think, just when you think you're escaped from that, you're going to get got by another. Because once that hell breaks loose, man, once it starts, it's gonna keep going, man. It's gonna escalate into more and more things, man. Okay, boom, one after the other, after the other, after the other, as it tells you in Habakkuk. All right, what does it say in Habakkuk? All right, Shalom. All right, this is the brother GMS on the move, Malachi 2:16. For the Lord, the power of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away, for one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit. All right, and hey, there's gonna be violence out here, man. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of violence out here. Like we keep saying, just because the ignition isn't exactly, what we might think it is, doesn't mean the outcome isn't gonna happen. The violence is gonna happen. Now, what's gonna start it? It doesn't matter. Okay, it might be the election, it might be before, it might be after, but it's still gonna happen. Okay, now let's go. Because according to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, it says, verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. So there's an appointed time. Like when you call to the hospital, you make an appointment. Hey, I'd like to come in this day. I gotta, you have an appointment. It's set, whatever date it is. Okay. So the Lord has these prophecies set for a certain date, second, time, all of that. But at the end it shall speak, and we're in the end right now. We're in the very end. It says, and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So when these prophecies and these visions start hitting, they're not going to slow down, they're not going to stop, they're not going to tarry. It's just going to be boom, 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 boom. All right. Hell on every street. You run from this, you face this. You run from this, you face this. And if you're not of the elect, you're not going to be able to make it, man. That's how close we are, man. All hell's about to break loose. We're not just going to keep going year by year by year and nothing is happening. No. At some point, the appointed time got to come to pass, because time keeps moving, but the appointment is never going to come. No, the appointment is going to come, man, because time keeps moving. So that means we're getting closer and closer to that appointed time. And what's going to happen in that appointed time? It's in 2 Ezra chapter 15. All right. Starting at verse 14, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. Now, this election, all right, bringing that civil unrest and that civil war, you're going to have Trump supporters, that's one people, and they're going to stand up and fight against the Democratic supporters, all right, based on whoever wins or whatever side is unhappy. Okay, it says with swords in their hands. So they might come with guns, they might come armed. And that's not going to be the only conflict. You have the Black Lives Matter people against the, these people, and then you have Antifa here, and then it's literally just everybody against each other, man. It says, and the modern day sword is a gun. So don't be surprised if this thing turns lethal. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And there's going to be a lot of sedition because the so-called king, all right, or the president, now the sedition is going to be about determining who won, all right. And that's going to be an interesting thing to see. Now, we still got time from now to the election. So anything can happen. They could find another way to try and escape this problem or, figure something out. Who knows, man? All we know is, according to prophecy, these are the things that are going to take place on the earth. All right. And so that's what we're telling you, man. Okay, now let's go from there to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. All right, verse 1. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And the children of thy people are the Israelites, starting with the elect. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So unless you're written in the book of life, you ain't gonna be delivered. All right. But that's how bad it's gonna be, man. All hell is gonna be breaking loose. Okay. And it's gonna be a time of trouble like never before. Not compared to a movie, not compared to a historical event, nothing, man. So we're just looking for the start. And we know once it starts, it's gonna hit that point, man. It's gonna keep going. And it's going to pass any historical troubles that have ever happened in history. And it's just going to keep going and surpass that, man. All right. Jacob's trouble is going to bring a whole lot of death. Okay. Okay. Brother put a precept here. Yep. That's right. Seed of the promise. Isaiah 13:9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, both cruel with wrath and fierce anger. Okay. The Most High is coming cruel with wrath, the day of the Lord, man, with fierce anger. So those spirits that the Lord have created for vengeance, they're gonna carry the Lord's vengeance as well. Okay. Now, ultimately, what this is referring to is those missiles along with the chariots. Okay, but before then, you're gonna see hell like never before. It says to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. All right, beautiful precept, man. That's what the Most High is gonna do. That's why in Daniel 12 it says, everyone shall be delivered that shall be found written in the book. What? The book of life. Okay, if you're not in that book, well, that's not looking too good for you. All right, now this is Jeremiah chapter let me see. Okay, maybe it's not in Jeremiah. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at this one. All right, this is Amos chapter 8:3. It says, and the songs of the temple shall be howlings in that day, saith the Lord power. There shall be many dead bodies in every place. They shall cast them forth with silence. All right, and there's another precept I was looking for. I can't find it at the moment. But it's talking about there's going to be so many dead bodies that they're not going to be buried, man. You're going to have dead bodies laying in the street. Okay, now I just saw an article on a Tesla in China that basically malfunctioned and it caused an accident. You literally see the dead bodies, man. There's a woman who I don't know if she flew out the windshield, but she's caught in between both cars, dead. All right, her head is hanging, her legs are on the hood of the car. All right. And then another lady, just a dead body, literally live, man, just on there, just dead. And that's what you're gonna be seeing in mass, man. Here it is. You about to, you're going down the street and you smell something. You're like, what the hell is that? You cut the corner, you see a bunch of flies, all right, and just a dead body, man. And winter's coming, man. So let's say all hell does break loose, and you're gonna have dead bodies covered with snow. You might step on something and then you step back. You're like, why does snow look red? You might see a severed arm here. Okay, a severed head, okay, a half eaten toe, laying somewhere. Okay, it's gonna get real bad out here, man. We're just waiting for that starter. Okay, we're waiting for the start. Okay, the start of the next level of Jacob's trouble, man. Okay, so you know what? I think I'm gonna end it with this. This is Jeremiah chapter 30, and I'm gonna start at verse 6. It says, "Ask ye now." Actually, you know what? Let's start at verse 5. It says, "For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace." So The times we're coming into is not a time of peace. It's a time of trembling and of fear, because a lot of destruction is going to be taking place on the planet Earth. Okay. It says, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Do men carry children? Do men go through birth pains? No. So it says, wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, all right, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Why? Because it's going to be so bad out here that these dudes are going to be, the Lord said he's going to have men walking like blind men. Meaning what? Having no sense of direction, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. It's bad out here, man. Okay. Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And Lord willing, we are part of that that elect. Okay. But it's going to be bad out here in these streets, man. It's going to be bad out here in these streets. And it's going to hit a lot of you, man. I'm seeing a lot of Luke 17 and 26 going on, man. They did marry. They gave in marriage. All right. They ate. They drank. They no cares, man. They walk around without a care in the world, not knowing what's about to hit them, man. Not knowing that a sword is being sharpened. Not knowing that an evil time is coming. And it's coming quickly. All right. Prince of Yahweh, all right, this is 2nd Chronicles chapter 15, verse 13, that whosoever would not seek the Lord power of Israel should be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. Beautiful precept, man. That's the kind of mindset that these death angels are going to come with, all right? And they can come in the form of man. They could come in the form of possessing an animal, or putting a spirit on an animal, or jumping on a human, okay, to go crazy and do some madness, or coming in a demonic form. They can come in whatever means necessary to bring the judgment to pass. All right. So when we keep telling you, man, and people keep taking this as a joke, you're gonna find out for yourself, man. All right. You're gonna find out for yourself. You're gonna wish. Oh, a lot of people are gonna wish they could go back and what can I do? No. Judgment is judgment, man. All right. So we're gonna keep our eyes out. All right. We're gonna watch for the signs of these prophecies. We're gonna keep a close eye, all right, on that election and see what happens, man. Hey, it could be the trigger for Jacob's trouble, Lord willing, all right? Or it could be before that or after that. But nonetheless, we know we're very close and that something is going to happen that's going to bring about this destruction, all right? It's going to bring about this hell. And once this hell starts, once that first domino falls, all the dominoes are going to fall right after, man. It's not going to tarry, okay? So with that, I hope brothers were edified. All right, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak Udash. Until next time, Shalom.